I'm a medium and I'm a healer. I was saved by the Holy Spirit. I've had things happen to me since I've been saved, and I've been healed over and over again. How do I stay healed? By doing the work that I do. I keep doing the work I do. So to stay healed, people ask me, how do I stay healed? I heard the news today. I am healed. How do I stay healed? How do I stay in the fifth dimension? You stay in service.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Robbins, and welcome to Life, Death, and the Space Between. There are a lot of medical intuitives out there right now, but Kimberly Meredith, today's guest, has been studied. Her abilities have been studied so we can understand how she uses them. She taps into the fifth dimension to help people heal, and her work has been seen all over the globe. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you, Amy, for having me. I
Thank you
really,
for being here, and thank you for your patience. Kimberly was very patient with me as I was sorting through some technical difficulties. So thank you. So I want to start with when you realized you had your healing gifts and your near-death experiences, so people can have some context into how you came into this space.
yeah, I feel like I always had a knowing from when I was little that I have intuitive abilities because they started when I was really little. I was having paranormal experiences. I always was drawn to helping people because I went into the nursing world at a very young age. I always wanted to help and care for animals when I was really little. And but then the deep dive is when I had the two near-death experiences. And after the two near-death experiences, I experienced the other side. My gifts fully emerged. And when they emerged, I started my blinking, which was something that happened when I was very little. I was blinking and communicating with the other side. And that's something that started happening after the second near death experience. After my second NDE, which is an out of body experience that happened when I lost my life, my eyes started blinking again, as they did when I was a little girl. And that was the communication with spirit. And when that started happening, my gifts totally appeared again, as it was when I was a child. And in that, I was communicating with spirit again. And spirit was communicating to me the true gifts that was when I was younger. So I really feel like it was meant to happen. When they started blinking, I could have said, stop it from happening again. But
Mhm.
I received the messages, and the messages started accumulating faster and faster through me. And I started being clairvoyant, clairaudient, and clairsentient. And it was a very interesting process because it started happening while I was still injured. I was only a year after home from the hospital. I was in a wheelchair. I was recovering from severe neck, jaw injuries, hematoma, and I was getting the blinking going on. So you can only imagine I was not even fully recovered, and I was having these information coming in from spirit. Um, so it was quite interesting.
So when the information came in, how does the blinking work? Are you blinking messages? Are you asking spirit questions and the messages are coming through? I mean, how do you use the blinking as a way to know what your patients, I guess they're patients, right? Clients need in terms of what's going on with them
Yeah.
medically?
I think everybody has their own, whoever's a medium or a psychic or an intuitive, or we all have ways of accessing intuition. Mine is just not through the blinking. I hear, see, feel everything. Blinking is just one more modality that comes in for me through codes. I also do soul frequency readings. So it started off just with blinking, but now I hear, feel, see. everything. I don't even need to do the blinking to do a reading. So
Mm.
it started off with blinkings, but now it's everything. So I get messages from the afterlife. I do mediumship, medical, find root causes. I know how you got it, where you got it, when you got it. So meaning all of the medical stuff, and also the family members come in now, want to be involved in why people got sick. And also I do many types of readings. So, but to go back from the beginning of when I came home from the hospital, I didn't know any of this was going to happen. I never heard of a medium or a medical intuitive or knew anything about that or knew what a near-death experience was. I didn't know anything about any of that, but I had had two of them and survived it and was on this huge journey.
Mm-hmm. So with near-death experiences, I've had many people on the show who have had them and suddenly are opened up to these psychic abilities, mediumship abilities, whatever it is, however it presents. How can someone tap into this space, which you call in your new book, Awakening to the Fifth Dimension? How can we begin without having those near-death experiences to open up and start to tap into these other dimensions?
Well, with or without a near-death experience, I think anybody has the ability, and we all are moving into this awakening right now, whether we want to or not, because the third dimension is depopulating.
Can you go over the dimensions for us? Can you help
Well,
us understand
to
those?
backtrack on your question, the awakening is a process. So the third dimension is fear, worry, ego. And that's the dimension we're in right now, but we're shifting rapidly right now into the
Mm.
fourth dimension, which is a spirituality. As we feel more nature, we want to move into a more organic culture where we feel right now, you hear everybody saying, let's live more organically, right? Which we have to because 3D is depopulating. We
What
have to
does
move.
that mean? It's depopulating.
Well, more and more people are dying. The
Got it.
existence is depopulating out right now. And it has to, because we can't survive in a third dimensional world. Just the way I'm channeling this information to you right now, when people read my book, they understand that we can't survive the next 10 years living in a third dimensional world. So more people are awakening to understand that we have to live more peacefully, lovingly, kindly, and more organically in a fourth dimensional organic way of living. Living in a fifth dimension is even a step higher. There's many dimensions. The fifth dimension is a very good dimension to be in, but it's not just a spiritual dimension. It's a dimension, an organic way of living, but boosting your system in all ways, not
Mm.
eating bad, but also having fifth dimensional relationships spiritually, honoring your brothers and sisters, but also spiritually connected more intimately to God, omnipresent, um, in relationships, um, every way. It's not just saying, well, I'm going to go to church or I'm going to practice meditation and rub some crystals together. Yes, that's beautiful. But also, how are you eating? How are you taking your baths and your showers? So your whole house has to be in a fifth dimensional way, and also your relationships. It's a whole pathway to live.
So what if that feels really overwhelming to people? Like, oh my gosh, I need to move from like where I
Yeah.
am right now to, getting a reverse osmosis filter in my house so the water is clear and clean and it's not polluted and all of that. Like, what are things that people can do to just start kind of moving into that space? And I would imagine that fifth dimensional space is really, you talk about it connecting to the divine, or you said God, I'm going to say divine, sort of this notion of oneness and unconditional love is how I think of it.
When you say overwhelming, that's a third dimensional word. Um, the fifth dimension, the book that they channeled, is actually very, very 101. It's a very easy book to read and a very when you went back and asked about reverse osmosis,
Mm-hmm.
they don't like reverse osmosis. That's not very actually that's not a very 100, it's an okay type of water, but it doesn't really give you enough minerals for your body. Um, but to stay focused on the question that you asked,
Mm-hmm.
in order to have a fifth dimensional water in your home, I would say you would, it's easy to just go get a filter, something for your sink or something for your shower. Um, why would you want to put uh, fluoride into your system? That's a third dimensional toxin. You wouldn't want to put something harmful in your body.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a fifth dimensional state of consciousness or even a fourth dimensional state of consciousness. You allow yourself to open up to an understanding. And many people are easily opening themselves up to this right now. This is really exciting time in the world because people want to get better. They want to have the knowledge. They're excited about not having their children harmed and sitting in a bathtub full of toxins. There's all these things that they can do and not have to spend money. They don't have to go and have their whole house have, a $10,000 filtered system. It can not be overwhelming. It can
Mm-hmm.
be exciting. It can be joyous. It can be not have more knowledge. And so the fifth dimension is easy, it's fun, and it's progressive. And it's the way we're going for the next 10 years. If we don't change within the next 10 years, 2033, as my right eye blinks, no, 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 is going to be a negative outcome for all of us.
Mm. So your right eye is blinking no, no, no because of what could
Because
happen if we don't make this shift.
yeah. So
Got
if
it.
you're talking about, and I love that you said overwhelming, because you're right, to the third dimensional consciousness, it could be very overwhelming. But to a fourth and fifth dimensional consciousness that gets this, which is a lot of the youth groups and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that do understand, it's easy, it's fun, and it's like, hey, no problem. I'll go to Amazon and buy a rain shower, $30 shower filter, or even some of my, I'm not going to say an age group because I have 80-year-olds going, no problem. And I'll get a rain shower bath ball and put it in my tub, and I don't get UTIs anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when
Give me an
have
example.
yeah. And I just picked the water as an example too.
Yeah, we're
Like
just
that's not
examples of shifting and knowing your brands and knowing things to help your home be more upgraded into a healthier lifestyle.
what have we ever been in the fifth dimensional space before as a society?
Absolutely.
When do you think that was? And how did we get away from that?
I don't know exactly what BC or what we came into the world,
Oh, it was that long ago.
beginning of time. Yeah,
Okay.
it's going back so fast in my brain. It was the beginning of time.
Got it. So it wasn't like in the 1920s.
No, but I
Okay.
will tell you when they will tell you, not me, that things started to go down the drain, no pun intended with the water.
Right, right. We've got a lot of water. The water behind you
Um,
is beautiful. So,
they're saying, okay, they're saying, um, when I say 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, when we started having a lot of TV dinners, processed foods, when all that started coming about, and I don't know if that was around that time in the 70s. Yeah, they're giving me the negative blink. That's when we stopped doing more home cooking. Like when my grandmother said, I feel like that's when it started happening. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when more of this started going on. More diseases were really pushed up, hyped up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's interesting. I just bought a new old cast iron pan. It was 100 years old, and I bought it, and I was thinking about my grandmother because she always used to cook every night. My grandparents both lived, all four of my grandparents lived until their 90s, and they all always cooked at home, sort of meat and potatoes in their cast iron skillets, their old cast iron skillets. And it was like there wasn't this exactly what you're talking about, this like time pressure and this I guess third dimensional way of being. And yet the fifth dimensional way that you're speaking of is so much cleaner and more pure and more in line with, I think, how we were meant to be
Yes.
living.
Yes, you're right. They want to take us back to that. I mean, my grandmother never had a microwave. I used to sit on my little baby chair and I would crush nuts with her. And she, all these things, it's like the guys are taking us back to the old times where the family sits together at dinner and we all are together. We pray. If it's not a religious sense, because I'm not religious. I was raised Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
I still love that faith very much. I know that people sometimes think, oh, she's a holy roller and she's Christian, but I'm not. But I do believe in everything. I love all people, and I'm very much devoted to God. I really am. I love God so much, so much. But I do believe, I do very much believe in the power of prayer because I'm Kimberly and I go out and I see miraculous healing in prayer. And I've seen it. I can only be me.
Mm-hmm.
And through my eyes blinking, I've found many illnesses in people through my scans where they didn't know. I've seen breast cancer before they've known they've had it. And I go through the body and I find things. And they go to the doctors and they'll say, I just got a reading and I need this checked. And the doctor will say, you have that.
Mm.
But it's not me. I'm just being used. I'm just a messenger to that. But I
How
know through going and getting the right nutrition and getting help that you can be healed. But I also know that this up here, this divine
mm-hmm.
loving energy, if you're good to the energy will be good to you.
How have your abilities been studied? You were studied by Dean Radin, right? At Ions.
Not just Dean, a whole staff of people there. And I've been studied by Dr. Sheely and a SciTech organization, and not by one client that they studied, multiple people. And my brain does more than the study. My brain does more than just one study. So if they put me to a study, I always go beyond the study.
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Whatever the study is, I go beyond the study. The guides always do more.
Ah, okay. Okay. So what does that study look like? They bring someone in for you to assess, or how does it work?
They're all different, Amy. Every study is a different type of study. Yeah. So, like Dr. Sheely, I think I explained in the book, he had like 16 or 17 people. They come in, he'll ask me, what does this person have without me knowing anything? And I'll go through the whole entire body. I'll write down uh, on a piece of paper everything a person has in them. He'll look to see what the person has. He'll say, well, she found everything in your body and even more.
Hmm.
So I'll say they have a mitral valve problem. Maybe they had a meniscus tear. This is like in a regular day at my office. And
Right.
I'll just
Right.
do the whole entire body. Plus, I'll find even more things. So maybe I'll know they had a root canal, or I had their front tooth, something happen, or a thyroid Hashimoto's. So going through the whole entire body.
And then once you get that information, is there work that you do with your guides to help them heal?
In that study with Sheely's study, um, I did healing on various people in that study. And in the book, we talked about how the one lady, we had a lymph node on her that we dissolved it.
Mm-hmm.
but that's the regular day at the office for me. But in that study, we filmed it and we dissolved it off of her throat.
So you said it before, if you're good to like I don't know if these were the exact words, but something along the lines, if you're good to the energy, or if you are in good energy, then energy is good to you. What do you say to people who have had something horrible happen to them and they feel like, wait, I have been good to the energy. I have been in a good place. How do we get people out of that feeling of like, oh my God, I brought this on to myself, and the guilt and maybe the shame? I know those are third dimensional feelings around that, versus, I don't know, whatever anybody else might come up with. Like if you think you're a good person and you're going about your day and you're doing good things, and then bam, you get, a cancer diagnosis. And you
That's
think,
a
okay,
really
it was,
great question, Amy. You know what? Good things happen to good people. So you do good. You do the best you can do. You know, you have to always think about doing the best you can do. I'm good. I pray for people all day, and things happen to me.
mm,
You know, I'm a medium and I'm a healer. I was saved by the Holy Spirit. I've had things happen to me since I've been saved, and I've been healed over and over again. How do I stay healed? By doing the work that I do. I keep doing the work I do. So to stay healed, people ask me, how do I stay healed? I heard the news today. I am healed. How do I stay healed? How do I stay in the fifth dimension? You stay in service. So let me
mm,
say something. My brother died at 15 years old. He was murdered. He was a
oh,
good child. We were a good family, but he was killed. So I have so many thousands of people that come to me. There's a time to live and there's a time to die. But does that mean because that we are given these cards that we don't pray, that we don't ask for a miracle? No. Every day
mm,
we get up and we ask, what is our miracle today? And I
mm,
have clients that come to me and they'll say, Kimberly, I had cancer and I am healed. So I'm going to give back and I'm going to help others. And I'm still healed. Or I had a car come so close to my car today that almost hit me and take out my whole family. But just minute half an inch stopped and did not hit me. And that was my miracle today. So my
mm.
answer to you is that yes, we have to always honor the omnipresent all the time.
And that just because you're good all the time doesn't mean something bad might not something bad might happen to you. But then it's what you do with that experience and how you use that to continue to stay in the fifth dimension.
And understanding that, always honoring the love of the omnipresent God and never give in to the other energy to think that
Mm,
he's trying to pull you to that side
got
and
it.
get mad at the energy of the love of God, because it's almost like you're in Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The dark side and the
It
light side,
wants
the
to
dark
it
side.
wants to pull you to believe that God is not good when God is great. My little brother, before he died, not to go back to my brother Billy,
No, I think it's a good
but
concrete way of looking
Billy
at
and
things.
I were really close. And we were a lot alike. He was the youngest and I was the oldest. And we were very, very close. And he liked to write plays. And I was a writer. And right before he passed, he was getting bullied at school with his friend Peter. And he got his driver's permit. And he said, you want to know what I want to do when I go get my permit? And this was really to this day, because I see him a lot when I'm doing mediumship readings in big venues. It could be 300 people, 500 people, but he comes to me and he helps me with my mediumship. And I'll never forget it as long as I live. how he would know this. He said, I want to get the pink dot on my license. And I thought that was so strange because I wouldn't even think of that. And I said, what is that? He goes, it's the donor dot. And I remember when I stood in the hallway at the hospital and my mom and dad walked out and they said, they're going to take him off the oxygen. He's dead. He's brain dead. And I screamed. And they said, but his organs are going to go to children and he's going to be living on. And I thought, how did he know that at the driver's when I took him to get his permit? So there's the miracle living on.
So he was able to save many lives.
Yeah.
Even though
his eyes went on. Yeah. And his heart. So what I'm saying is that there's miracles every second happening for people. And as we move into the fifth dimension, and more people are shifting and moving and growing, and I see it every day it's happening. Just alone me being here right now and going out and teaching people to heal themselves and awaken. And even in my groups, when people come in and we find things and they'll say, oh my God. And we yell out, Jennifer's healed. And people will yell, Jennifer's healed. And Jennifer will go, I am healed. I'm in the fifth dimension. Just by saying that, we get emails back going, I'm healed. I'm healed.
What is one of the most profound healing experiences you've either had for yourself or also for someone else? I know you do this, thousands of these a year.
Yeah. And this is not going to stop with me. This is going to be rapidly happening everywhere. I mean, this is just the beginning of a rapid movement. And it's been happening probably way before me. There was Amy Sybil McPherson. There was Mary Baker Eddy. I mean, these are people that this was going on. But for me, just in the last 2 years, I've had some miracle healings with myself and some that were in this book and some that are not in the book that have happened with clients. One of my own, I had 2 kidney stones recently for myself that they wanted to operate on. And because I eat too much spinach.
That is a side effect I've heard of eating too much spinach, gout, right?
Yeah. And I was being a spinach addict and I did not, because of how I am, I do not want to have like a surgery type thing. And I just did not want to do it. And I did everything with the praying and the chanting and some types of drinks I was doing. And I went in, still the ultrasound was showing, and I was scanning myself that it was there. But my girlfriend and I went to the office to get it done. And right when we were getting ready to have the procedure, she went in and she says, they're not there. They're gone. So that was really cool. And the other one I could say, what was one? Oh God, there's been a lot with clients of mine that have been really cool. I'm very known for dissolving breast lumps. That's one of my really big specialty. Just small, benign. And sometimes they can be cancer. You never know. And I've had a couple of those. And I do find them often through Zooms. And I find them in the office. But the guides do not like breast lumps.
So when you go in and you dissolve it, if it's cancerous, how does that work? And what if it doesn't dissolve? Like, how do people then feel?
I can do about it. It's just, why not take a shot? If it doesn't dissolve, then you go back to the doctor and yeah, it needs to come out. So it's Kimberly doing the best I can do through the guides,
Mm-hmm.
not Kimberly. I'm just a vessel for the energy of spirit. And I don't stand in the way of any treatment. You need to do your treatments. You need to do your vitamins. You need to do everything you're doing. But if it goes down a little bit, just like in the book we talk about, if it goes down a little bit, or some of the people that I work with, um, holistic or Western or Eastern, and you can learn to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. And by doing it yourself, you talk about this in the book, right? You give a very wonderfully prescriptive kind of different prayers, different meditations, different foods you can eat, all sorts of things to
Yes.
elevate yourself to that fifth dimension.
Yes, Amy. And also it's important, and I know I'm not like some holistic uh teachers and things. I'm very much a proactive medical intuitive that says you need to get your mammogram
Mm. You're not
every
like, I am the only answer. And if you come to me and everything's fine, great, you're fine. It's like,
uh
do the medical
I
things you need
am
to do and do these things.
I am the Jewish aunt grandma that
Mm.
unfortunately I'm the nosy one. I'm the one that you don't want. A lot of people don't like to come around me sometimes because if I'm like in an expo or I'm in a room, I'm like, I spot you. Like I'll be in a room if
Mm.
there's like 50 people and I'm like people kind of try to hide from me sometimes because if I'm going around and I'm blinking, I'll be like I'll scan and then they'll say she was supposed to say my knee or she was supposed to say my thyroid and I'll be like scanning someone and I'll say I'm getting an energy on your heart. And they're like, no, it's not my heart. And I'll say your heart. And if I see your breast, I'll say you need to get the left breast checked. Nothing's wrong with my left breast. I'll get an argument something. Nothing's wrong with my left breast. Or I'll say a little energy on the heart. Nothing's wrong with my heart. Nothing's wrong with my heart. I'll say my guides are just saying, get that checked. Get that checked. And then later I'll get an email and they'll say, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, what happened? I kept hearing you say, get that check, get that check, get that check all night. And I couldn't sleep. So I went and got my
Mm.
stress test. And then the doctor threw me into surgery. So it's just me getting this download, but I'll never say, out and out, but I am hearing that she's got a problem with the heart.
Right.
But I don't want to embarrass them in the Zoom, if it's a Zoom class. If it's a one-on-one, I get more in detail. But yeah, so that's how it goes with me.
And it's just it's coming to you through all your clairs. So you're just incorporating that
No,
information.
it's doctors coming into me and telling me exactly what people have. On my one-on-ones, I get very detailed and I know exactly what's going on. If it's a class, I'm not going to embarrass people in a class and tell them
Right.
everything.
Right. No, I'm just saying when it comes into you, when you are getting the information, it's coming through in all the different clairs you might experience. You might experience blinking, you might experience clairaudience.
Yeah, it's hard to explain because
Yeah,
I have players, doctors, relatives, they're all coming in now.
all the peeps are just
I'm
there.
a full-blown trans channel, yeah. And they give all kinds of details. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And not only will so if it's a heart condition, they may tell me it's a mitral valve and it's going down to the leg, it's causing edema, it could go to a stroke, every single thing. What they're eating, I do everything. Everything. It's not fun being Kimberly sometimes because I know so much information, but people like it. I mean, they like doing sessions with me. The sessions go fast, 60 minutes. I do 75 minutes. Why it's good to do a session with me? Well, you learn a lot, you get a lot of info, and it helps you with your doctor. And
So
doctors like it. They like when people come to me. Why it's not good to do a session with me, maybe you don't want so much information.
so it sounds like you're like a energetic primary care physician.
I add to your treatment plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I add to the mix of whatever you're doing. And then I throw a couple prayers in there and people enjoy the praying and comfort. And then your family might come in case you have a family member that passed over, they're going to come in and want to be involved.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
they're going to want to help out also.
So, Kimberly, if there are people interested in your work, where can they find your work? Where can they find you? And what exciting things do you have coming up in the event that this episode airs in time? And if not, we could still talk about it.
Okay. So I'm at the Healing Trilogy, the Healing. It's not my name. So it's my group to find me is Healing Trilogy.com.
Perfect.
And I do office sessions in Los Angeles and I do Zoom sessions and I do classes. And I am, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And I'm going to be in upstate New York at Rhinebeck at the Omega Center doing a retreat. They've invited me to actually teach people how to open up the chakras and meditate and actually learn a little bit more about the fifth dimension and how to open up your own healing abilities. So we are going to be learning more about the awakening of the fifth dimension.
And your new book is
Awakening to Dimension.
Everything is in line. It's all perfectly in alignment, right? Awakening to the fifth dimension everywhere you go.
Yes. And I'm really grateful, Amy, for you having me on here and talking about this topic about near-death experiences and about how people can awaken to healing and health and not being afraid to tap into their own healing abilities and, do this type of work.
Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for your time today and for your patience with my technical issues. And we'll share all of this. I know my listeners are going to be curious and probably want to learn more. So I'm sure they will be checking out your website, your new book, Awakening to the Fifth Dimension, which is fantastic and has some really great practical ways that you can begin to awaken to the fifth dimension. So thank you so much, Kimberly.
Thank you. Much gratitude to your listeners.
Like what you heard today and want to hear more? Wondering what comes next and what it all means? Head over to Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere you get your podcasts and hit subscribe. Also, if you could take a minute to rate and review my podcast, I would really appreciate it. Stay tuned as we continue to explore life, death, and the space between.